Thanks for dropping in, everybody. My name's Dylan, and today we're going to talk about how to have deeper conversations. So, conversations are something that I've always struggled with personally, and I've come a really long way, and I'm very happy that I have because it's allowed me to connect with so many other types of people. But way back when, I was really bad at conversations. I would constantly just talk about what was on my mind, and that still comes up sometimes, but it's not nearly as bad. When I was in college, I was fortunate enough to have opportunities where conversations were a really important part of my job. When I was an orientation leader, I helped freshmen coming into school get acclimated to campus and feel comfortable being in a new setting. And that led to a lot of difficult conversations and really made me realize that I needed to, open up a little bit more about myself and that could help with conversations. This process continued, and I actually received training in it when I eventually became a resident assistant and had residents that would come to me. And it wasn't always to come to me with problems. It was, to come to me to talk about their day or just anything. And those types of interactions helped me have better conversations because I was eventually having so many conversations with so many different types of people that I found myself becoming a better listener, which was the big thing I struggled with before. And it certainly helped a lot in my relationship, although there's definitely still some struggle with it, and I very much want to keep getting better at it. So to have deeper conversations, don't talk about surface small talk things, and try not to talk about pop culture events or things in the news. Those are things that are really just scratching the surface and don't really give the opportunity to go deeper in. One thing I suggest to have deeper conversations is to really focus on your listening. When you're not talking, think actively about how the other person's presenting themselves and how they're trying to get their point across. And if you can really hone in on that and be an active listener, nod every once in a while even, not too much because that can just get annoying, but nod a little bit, let them know that you're with them in the conversation and that you're following along. That can really go a long way and help them connect more with you. I've also found sharing something personal, but not deeply personal about myself, really helps. And a lot of times it'll just be like a fun fact even, or a story from my childhood, or just something to get the conversation going deeper than just what's on the surface of, yeah, it's pretty great weather today, because that gets old real fast, let me tell you, and it certainly doesn't help conversations go deeper. Another thing is to be detail oriented. If you use more details in conversation, you're more likely to make that other person in the conversation have some questions about it. By using details, there's more things to think about, more questions to have potentially, and it really shows that you're giving more on a personal level to that other person, which not only can help them feel more comfortable sharing that back with you, but it also gives more opportunity for the conversation to be led in different directions. And another thing I would say is that if this is a conversation with someone you haven't met yet, when you're asking questions, ask questions that provoke stories. Don't ask questions that provoke a yes or no answer. Because a lot of times people will opt for the yes or no answer, especially in a new situation, meeting someone for the first time. They're not as likely to open up and go into a lot of detail, especially if they're self-conscious or their self-esteem isn't where it should be at, or it can be difficult for people with social anxiety, for people transitioning into new environments. It can be really tough to go further than a yes or no question. So when you make sure to ask questions that provoke stories rather than a yes or no response, or not necessarily stories, but more of an explanation. When you ask those types of questions, consider how that person might respond. And that's more of a high level thinking component to conversations, is to think about how they might respond. But if you put yourselves in their shoes, it can help so much, because then you open the floor for more comfortable answers. You give that person a few options to pick that they'll be able to explain more than just a yes or no, but they won't feel too vulnerable putting themselves out there. So those are just some quick tips I have. I didn't want to number them or make this video super structured. Just want to kind of talk a little bit about it. And you know, it's not specifically relationship related, which you know, doesn't tie in with the series I've been building, but it's something that I think is really important, and this information can translate into relationships too, but goes far beyond. So it's a little bit more relatable if you're not actually in a relationship or not interested in one right now. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe for more. I do post videos every Wednesday and Saturday, and I hope to see you in a future video.